Welcome back to View from Brussels. My name is Brandy Miller, and today in the studio, I'm delighted to have MEP Ilhan Kyuchyuk. Ilhan, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Brandy.
I want to take a little bit of a look of the immense geopolitical pressure Europe is under, as well as some recent framing or reframing of the importance of enlargement to the EU. So you come from Bulgaria, you come from the Balkan region. Could you describe a bit more of what's particularly happening right now and why is enlargement back on the agenda?
Well, I think enlargement is a political necessity for the European Union. If you want to go further with our integration, I think enlargement is more than a hot topic for European Union. You're right by saying that for some of the politicians in European Union, the political leadership in the past, enlargement was not that important. And they had, I think, their open and sincere conversation with the society, telling that enlargement is not going to happen. And this was the case of Juncker Commission. But now we have a new ambition, mainly because of Russian war in Ukraine. But having said that, I don't want to forget about the necessity of enlargement when it comes to Balkans. Because the Balkan countries were waiting for far too long for enlargement because they feel that they belong. And I do believe that they belong to European Union. Politically, socially, economically, they are part of Europe. Of course, there's a way to go, there's a progress to be made, but I am sure that one day they will be part of the European Union.
So, outside of particularly what's happening with the Russian war in Ukraine, do you think that there are other issues that are helping to stem or to increase the importance of enlargement on the agenda?
But geopolitical importance, of course, is one of the priorities when it comes to the regional dimension, because Russia is there, China is there, other political actors are there. But before talking about geopolitics, I think it's a win-win. It's a win for the Balkan countries because they want to belong to something bigger than themselves. And secondly, I think it's a win for the European Union because in such a geopolitical stubbornness, I think it's important for European Union to give a hope and motivation for the European ideas. That reunification of the continent is still possible despite the challenges, despite the wars around us, and those malign actors trying to intervene in our own democracies. We are good to go. And we are here to send a message of hope and message of positivism that we can go together with enlargement. But enlargement has a different meaning also today in European Union. This certainly should go together with deepening the European project. Because previously the whole idea of enlargement was easily adopted by the European societies. They wanted to have this understanding of being together. But now, having our own internal needs for reforms, I think we should go together with deepening the European project. And here I can mention a couple of new ideas. There are also some old ideas, like the gradual integration.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we don't wait until the end of the process to be fulfilled, because for some of the countries this might take quite some time, even decades. But open the door, especially for younger generation of those countries, to be part of the European Union, and this could be taken stage by stage. And I'm very mindful when I'm expressing my opinion of hope for this concept, but also I want to say to European leadership that entering countries to the European Union, it's about the citizens. They should belong to European Union because of the reconciliation of the whole Europe. And this is not going against any rules. Of course, there is a Copenhagen criteria. Of course, they have to fulfill those criteria. And they will, and they are. I mean, in some of the cases, the European acquis is already there for 80% of their internal legislation.
Could you give a couple examples of which countries maybe that have already met some of these acquis and could be gradually integrated, or what this gradual integration would look like in practice?
Well, in practice, you give access to some of your policy areas, but not to all of the policy areas if the country is not ready for that. I'm trying to convey this message to more skeptical members of the European Parliament, because in every format almost we have this gradual integration. Let me give you an example with Bulgaria. When we entered the European Union, we were not allowed to travel freely to every European country. We had to wait a bit.
Yeah.
This was the case with UK. I mean, that was the same with Schengen. It was the same with Eurozone. We would just enter the Eurozone area this year.
Yes.
So the gradual integration is not something completely new for the European Union. We have to find the political will. Here, I'm not talking about methodology because we can have the best methodology, the best system, but the most important point is the political will. And I'm coming to the point that we have to decide, do we want a geopolitical European Union and geopolitical union without, political reforms inside the European? It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because before you talk about geopolitics, you have to talk about the political institutions. And this European Union with our own institutions is fit for the 20th century, but not for the 21st century. And secondly, if we want to go further with our political ambitions on economy, on high democratic standards, on any other issue, we have to be able to compete with geopolitical actors. And for that, we need an enlargement.
On the point of the EU moving faster is what I'm getting from this, and starting to integrate as one of the points which you are suggesting and also promoting is gradual integration. How can the EU do this process without losing credibility, as some of the skeptics would say?
Well, being frank with each other, I think this is the most important point. Being frank in politics is a rule. And nowadays, I think is a necessity. Going through the criteria, not changing the merits, not moving the targets, asking your partners and friends to deliver on most important benchmarks for democracy, but at the same time, being strict with your own members and asking them to fulfill their commitments. This dialogue is important, I would say, more than ever.
And would you say that the EU is ready for new members as is, or are there some reforms you would hope to see so the EU is ready for an influx of future partners?
The reforms should
members.
go, but this shouldn't stop us from enlarging the European Union. And the Big Bang enlargement will not happen anymore. In 2004, we had 10 members.
Yes.
We're not gonna expect the regatta enlargement, and this was also, possible scenario for European Union. I think the most realistic scenario, because the politics, and at the end of the day, it's about trust. We have to convince our own citizens that enlargement is going to work for them, but also our own institutions that we are able to take decisions with more countries, and it's already complicated.
Yeah.
Story with 27, and we might start with Montenegro and Albania. In terms of size, they're not big countries, and they're small countries, but in terms of a political signal and in terms of readiness to get them on board, I think that's doable. Of course, the Commission will do their part to check the benchmarks, to go step by step, but at the end of the day, it's about political decision, and we have to come to that point.
I want to shift gears a little bit to some of the other criticism points, namely about democratic resilience and rule of law in these potential member states. Where do you see the biggest gaps in the Western Balkans today? And how do you see the EU supporting the reforms without necessarily imposing them so that they're coming more self-generated from within the potential member states themselves?
In general, I think we have a common understanding what European Union should do in the region, but also what the region as such can deliver. More cooperation is needed in different fields, and they understand that our friends and partners from the Western Balkans better than us, because they want to move together faster, and they want to bring something on the table, not to consume what is on the table from the European budget, but to have an added value with their cultural diversity, with their strong understanding for democracy, because those countries went through hell of the problems, and most of the issues are still there. But they believe that if they join European Union, they will contribute not only for their own democracies, but also for the regional dimension. And with that, they will come to the European Union as a problem solvers, not as a problem creators. I think that's the most important message from them to us, that they are ready, committed to democratic governance, to high social and economic standards. If you ask me if there's a guarantee that all of them will be the perfect students in the club, I cannot commit myself to that. But also, can I ask you a question? I mean, what happened to Hungary? Is it a reverse in terms of democracy? I think it's a certain a degree of tendency, not only in Hungary but also in other countries when it comes to democratic backsliding. But that's why we have new tools, conditionality mechanisms. If you want to get European money for the benefit of your society, you should be able to fulfill your obligations when it comes to a rule of law and democratic standards. It's not ideal, but what is ideal in the world today? And also, we have to try things differently.
Yeah.
Because if we try the same way to get the same outcome, is not going to be possible. Enlargement is the region was previously NATO plus European Union.
Right.
And NATO went first to Bulgaria, to Romania. We joined the co-op, and then we joined the next co-op. And we had a different understanding of NATO. NATO was security, and European Union was more soft power, education, freedoms. But now we have new reality. We have to think about European Union also as an important pillar for our security.
Would you see then, I guess, speaking to the interests that these future member states could serve, so not only economically, but you would also say for security reasons and being in addition to NATO?
Absolutely, I do believe in a strong European pillar of defense, but that should go together with NATO. I never excluded the cooperation with NATO. On the contrary, I always encourage the relationship with NATO. And I'm happy that Secretary General Rutte is coming more often to the European Parliament. But also, most of them are NATO countries, and they can be added value to global and before that to regional security.
I want to go lastly a little bit more towards the EU, how far it should go on mediating disputes, because there are still disputes that exist in the region. Where do you think it should draw the line between engagement and conditionality?
Then we should do both, and we'll be doing successfully engaging with some conditionality, because if you only engage and you don't put conditionality in the Balkans, you don't get results.
Could you give some examples?
It was not a bad process when Belgrade-Pristina dialogue started in the beginning, and we delivered, and that should be the ideal way of cooperation. You have a sincere relationship with the partners in the region. You put your demands, but also you have a common understanding that those demands are not imposed on them, but they are for the benefit of their future integration.
What would be your future hope for how you'd see the end of this mandate closing out and the progression that could be made on accessing new countries to the EU, or perhaps in the next mandate, what would you hope for?
I believe to people with hopes, which is important in politics, to bring not only the realistic approach, which is important, but to bring hope to younger generation. And a lot of people I know in the Western Balkans have been waiting to their moment in European Union. I think it's important that we deliver, at least with one country until the end of this term, not because of the enlargement, but because of the need that we should send this message of hope that unification of the European continent is possible.
So adding on another member state by the end of this term would bring some hope to the future and to the aspiring member states.
I started with political necessity, and I want to finish with hope. We need both. We need the political sense to understand and to bring hope to region.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, Ilhan, for your time. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in. Please comment, like, and subscribe.